The cafe was loud. Espresso machines hissed. Phones buzzed. Orders barked across the counter. A typical morning storm. And in the middle of it, Emma. 17. Tired. Invisible. She wore a brown apron and cracked sneakers. Her ponytail was slipping. Her name tag hung crooked. She moved fast behind the counter, lips tight, eyes low. Next, the manager snapped. Emma stepped up. The man in front didn't look at her. Navy coat. Gold watch. Still scrolling his phone. Large almond vanilla latte. Extra hot. Not warm. Hot, he said flatly. Emma nodded. No eye contact. No thank you. Just a name for the cup. Behind him, a woman sighed loudly. It's always slow in here. Emma turned to make the drink. Steam rose. Milk frothed. She worked like a ghost, not a person. No one knew her story. No one cared. No one knew she lived in her car. No one saw the eviction notice in her backpack. No one heard her cry behind the dumpster after closing last night. To them, she was just a barista. She handed the latte across. The man took it without a word and walked off. Next customer. Another name. Another glare. Emma felt her knees ache. She hadn't eaten since yesterday morning. The register light blinked in her eyes. Her hands were starting to shake. You okay? Someone asked. Not the manager. Not a coworker. A customer. He was next in line. Black hoodie. Helmet in one hand. Dusty boots. Hair tucked behind his ears. No phone. No attitude. Just presence. Emma blinked. Yeah. I'm fine. He looked at her a moment longer. Not in a weird way. In a real way. Then he smiled, small and kind. One drip coffee. Whatever's warm. She poured the cup. His hands took it gently, like it mattered. He nodded once and stepped aside. But he wasn't done. He sat in the corner. Watching. Not in judgment. Not in impatience. Just watching. And that man, quiet, calm, forgotten by most, was Keanu Reeves. And for the first time all morning, Emma felt seen. Emma wiped the counter in small circles. Her hands moved automatically, but her mind was elsewhere. The man in the corner hadn't moved. Black hoodie. Calm posture. Just sipping his coffee slowly, eyes scanning the room, but not aimlessly. She caught herself glancing at him again. Why did he seem familiar? She shook it off. Emma, the manager barked. Restock the pastry fridge. And hurry up, we're out of croissants. Yes, sorry. She bent down behind the counter, heart pounding from the sudden yell. Her shirt was damp with sweat. The fridge handle shocked her fingers. Her gloves had holes again. When she stood up, the man was still there. Still watching. Not creepily. Not intently. Just witnessing. And somehow, that made her want to cry. She blinked fast. Don't lose it. Not here. The lunch rush crept in early. Orders piled up. Maya on espresso was slammed. Jay at register looked half asleep. And Emma? She was everywhere. Pulling shots. Clearing trays. Refilling napkins. She moved like she had extra arms. No one said thank you. Where's my muffin? A teenager snapped. Emma turned, hands full. I'm sorry, we're just. Maybe hire people who can count. The boy rolled his eyes, grabbed his drink and walked off. Emma's hands trembled as she placed the tray down. And the man in the corner, he was watching again. Except now, he stood up. Walked slowly toward the counter. Excuse me, he said softly, is your manager around? Emma froze. Was he going to complain? Report her? She nodded toward the back. The manager came out, rubbing his temple. Yeah. The man smiled politely. Just wanted to say, your team's under a lot of pressure. But that girl over there? He gestured toward Emma. She's holding this whole place together. The manager blinked. Most customers might not notice, the man added, but I do. She's been kind, fast, and calm. Just thought someone should say it. The manager gave a stiff laugh. Yeah, sure. Thanks. The man nodded, then turned and walked back to his seat. Emma stood frozen. No one had ever said that. Not in front of her boss. Not like that. Not out loud. She looked at the man again, eyes stinging. He didn't look back this time. Just sat, sipping his coffee. Like he hadn't just lifted 1,000 pounds off her chest. Minutes passed. The cafe hummed. Life moved. But something had shifted. Because now, a couple of co-workers were whispering. About the guy in the hoodie. Emma caught snippets. Is that him? Dude looks just like. No way, why would he be here? She wiped her hands and turned. The man stood and walked toward the door. He glanced back, only once, and smiled faintly at her. Then he was gone. A gust of air followed him as the door closed. Emma stood there for several seconds, heart thudding. And then she whispered, "No way." But deep down, she already knew. After he left, the room buzzed in a different way. It wasn't about coffee anymore. Emma, Maya leaned in, eyes wide. Was that? Emma just stared at the door. Her chest still tight from everything. The rush, the pressure, the words. I think so, she whispered. Jay scoffed. Come on. Why would Keanu Reeves come here? To this place? Maya shrugged. I don't know, man. But did you see the way he moved? The way he talked? He ordered drip coffee, Emma said quietly, more to herself than anyone. And he said I was holding the place together. Jay paused. Maya blinked. You serious? Emma nodded. For a moment, nobody said anything. Then Maya whispered, that's the most Keanu thing I've ever heard. They laughed. Softly. Carefully. Because joy was rare here. Especially for Emma. But today, something cracked. Not like glass, more like ice. The kind that melts slow, under the right sun. The day moved on. Orders flowed. Customers shouted. Machines steamed. But Emma's steps felt lighter. Just a little. Even the manager's tone softened. Emma, when you're done with the fridge, take 5. She blinked. What? A break? That never happened. She nodded, stunned, and stepped outside to the alley behind the cafe. The air was crisp. The city hummed. She sat on an overturned crate, pulled her sleeves over her cold fingers, and breathed. That's when her phone buzzed. A message from her bank. Balance, $4.21. She stared at the number. Her shift wasn't even halfway done. And rent was due tomorrow. The warmth she felt minutes ago vanished. Reality flooded back in. The night. The loneliness. She rested her head against the brick wall, eyes closed. If she didn't find another paycheck by next week, she'd lose even that. Then a shadow moved across the alley. She opened her eyes. And nearly dropped her phone. It was him. Finn. Black hoodie. Motorcycle helmet in one hand. Calm face. Gentle eyes. Hey, he said softly. Didn't mean to startle you. Emma stood too fast. You came back. He smiled. I forgot something. She looked around. Your coffee? No. He held up a paper bag. A muffin. Emma blinked. He stepped closer. You looked like you could use a break. Thought I'd share. He held it out. A simple blueberry muffin. She hesitated, then reached for it. You didn't have to. I know. Their hands brushed. He sat beside her on the crate. They didn't talk much. They didn't have to. The silence was comfortable. And for the first time in a long time, Emma felt safe sitting beside someone. She took a bite. And she realized, maybe it wasn't just a muffin. Maybe it was a sign. They sat in the alley, side by side, sharing a muffin like it was a secret. The city pulsed just beyond the bricks, car horns, sirens, sharp voices. But back here, time slowed. Emma didn't speak right away. She didn't want to break it. But then quietly he asked, What's your name? She hesitated. Then, Emma. He nodded like it meant something. Like her name mattered. And yours? She asked, even though she already knew. He smiled. Keanu. She tried not to react. But a small laugh escaped her. You know, you look a lot like that actor. He tilted his head. I get that sometimes. She grinned. It was the first real smile she'd allowed herself in weeks. Keanu reached into his jacket, pulled out a small folded napkin. Inside was a single square of chocolate. For dessert, he said. Emma shook her head, laughing under her breath. You always carry chocolate? Only when it matters. They sat quietly again. She took a tiny bite. It melted on her tongue. He glanced at her. You okay, really? She froze. It wasn't the question. It was the way he asked it. Not like a manager. Not like a customer. Like someone who actually wanted the truth. She looked down at her hands. Picked at the corner of her sleeve. I'm holding it together. Keanu waited. Didn't speak. Didn't interrupt. So she continued, a whisper. I work 6 days a week. I sleep in my car. I shower before the sun comes up. I haven't seen my mom in 3 years. And yesterday, her voice cracked. Yesterday I ate a pack of saltines for dinner. She blinked fast, hoping the tears wouldn't fall. Keanu didn't move. No dramatic reaction. Just quiet listening. She exhaled. You didn't need to know all that. I did, he said gently. And I'm glad you told me. Emma looked at him, eyes glossy. Why are you even here? She asked. This place, it's nothing. He shook his head slowly. Places aren't nothing. People make them matter. And then after a pause. You made it matter. That stopped her breath. No one had ever said anything like that to her. Ever. He stood. Brushed the dust from his jeans. I should go. She stood too, unsure what to say. He reached into his jacket one last time, pulling out a small, folded envelope. Don't open it now, he said. Wait until your shift ends. Emma stared at it. What is it? He smiled. Just a note. From someone who sees you. Then he nodded once, gentle, solid, and walked away. She stood there, the envelope clutched tight in her hand. And for the first time in years, Emma didn't feel invisible. The rest of Emma's shift passed in a blur. Her hands moved automatically. Wipe, pour, ring up, smile. But inside, everything was different. The envelope sat in her pocket like a second heartbeat. She hadn't peeked. She wanted to, God, she wanted to, but his words echoed in her mind. Wait until your shift ends. So she waited. And for once, the waiting wasn't heavy. Her body still ached. Her feet still burned. But there was something under the exhaustion now. A hum. A flicker. At 4:02 p.m., the manager gave a lazy wave. You're good to clock out. Emma didn't answer. Just nodded and slipped into the back room. She peeled off her apron, hung it carefully, and sat on the bench near the lockers. Alone. The envelope was cream-colored. Plain. Folded once. No name on the front. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a handwritten note on textured paper. Clean script. No rush in the strokes. You don't know me. Not really. But I saw you today. You were calm in chaos. You were kind when no one looked. You held this place together with no credit and no help. That matters. You matter. If the world has told you otherwise, the world is wrong. Use what's inside to breathe, to rest, to believe again. You are not invisible. Emma's breath hitched. Her eyes filled. Her thumb ran over the bottom edge, where something was taped. She turned the paper over. A check. Drawn from a private account. Her name on the line. And just above the signature, $10,000. Her vision blurred. She blinked hard, once, twice. It didn't vanish. It was real. $10,000. Enough for first month's rent. Enough to get out of the car. Enough to stop choosing between dinner and gas. She held the check like it might disappear. Like it might catch fire if she breathed too hard. But it didn't. It stayed. And so did the words. You are not invisible. She pressed the paper to her chest, curled forward, and let the tears come. Not loud. Not wild. Just quiet sobs of release. No one had ever done something like this for her. Not out of pity. Not with strings. Just because she was seen. Outside, the sun dipped lower. The city kept moving. People ordered drinks, made calls, laughed, complained. But inside that tiny back room, something changed. Emma stood slowly, wiped her face, and looked at her reflection in the smudged staff mirror. Same uniform. Same tired eyes. But for the first time, she didn't see a girl just surviving. She saw someone worth saving. The next morning, Emma woke up indoors. Not in the back seat of her rusted car. Not with the cold creeping into her bones or the ache in her spine from sleeping twisted up in a blanket that no longer held warmth. She was in a bed. A real one. The mattress wasn't soft. The walls were bare. The heater clicked unevenly. But it was hers, at least for now. The key was still under her pillow. She kept reaching for it in her sleep, just to make sure it was real. She hadn't called anyone. Hadn't told a soul. The only person who knew was gone. And he hadn't even left a number. Just a name. The check had cleared. The landlord hadn't asked many questions. She had paid first and last month up front. In cash. No references. No credit. No hesitation. And just like that, she wasn't homeless anymore. The apartment was a shoebox. A studio with yellow linoleum, creaking pipes, and one small window with a crooked blind. But it had a door that locked. A bathroom with a mirror. A light switch that worked. And quiet. So much quiet. She spent the first hour just sitting. Breathing. Letting the silence wrap around her without fear. And then, for the first time in months, she opened her backpack and pulled out the notebook she hadn't touched since school ended. College applications. She'd hidden them there. Buried under receipts, old pay stubs, wrappers. Dreams folded between bills. She flipped through the pages, fingers tracing old notes. Deadlines had passed. But new ones would come. Maybe she could take one class. Just one. A start. She looked around the tiny room. She had light now. She had space. She had time. And most of all, she had no excuse to keep believing she didn't matter. Her phone buzzed. Maya, you okay? You didn't show up. Emma paused. She had meant to go. Really. But something about this morning told her to stay. To let her hands rest. To let her heart catch up. I'm safe. Thank you for asking. Tell the others, thank you. She hesitated. Then added. Also, I think I met someone real. No reply came. But she didn't need one. She got up. Opened the window. Let the breeze in. Below, the street buzzed with motion. But up here she felt still. A knock came at the door. She froze. Her heart raced. Who would be knocking? She walked slowly across the floor, barefoot. She peered through the peephole. Nobody. Just an envelope. Another one. She opened the door slowly. Picked it up. No writing. No markings. Just the same cream paper. Her breath caught. She stepped inside and opened it with shaking fingers. Inside was a note. One line. Hope looks good on you. Emma sat down on the floor, letter pressed to her lips. And smiled. Emma stood by the window long after the letter. She didn't move. She didn't speak. Her fingers brushed the paper again and again, like it might vanish if she let go. Hope looks good on you. It felt like something her mother might have said a lifetime ago. Before the hospital, before the silence, before the system that swallowed her whole. She folded the note gently and slid it into her old journal. It didn't belong with bills or bank slips. It belonged with memories. With the parts of her still healing. Down below, people moved like they always did. Busy, but unaware. Emma used to walk among them unnoticed, face lowered, heart braced for disappointment. But not today. Today, she walked into the world a little taller. She made her way to the local laundromat with a duffel of old uniforms and jeans. Her hoodie smelled like coffee and stress. She wanted to start fresh, even if just with clean clothes. Inside, the hum of dryers filled the space. She sat by the window, waiting. The note still burned in her pocket. That's when her phone buzzed again. Another text. This time, from an unknown number. You don't know me, but someone told me you help them see things differently. I work HR at the cafe. I'd like to talk. Emma stared. Her mouth went dry. Was this real? She replied cautiously. Sure. What is this about? The typing bubbles blinked. An audit. Of how people are treated. And a promotion. If you're open to it. Emma blinked. Her hand shook. The dryers hummed louder. The whole world did. She sat there, frozen, the words repeating in her mind. A promotion? She hadn't asked for it. Hadn't planned for it. But she remembered the man in the hoodie. The way he'd looked at her. The way he'd spoken. Like she deserved more. Like the world had forgotten, but he hadn't. Maybe he'd spoken to someone. Maybe not. But the ripple had started, and it had reached her. She leaned back and exhaled. She didn't reply right away. She needed to feel it first. Not rush it. Not doubt it. Later, walking home, she passed a mural she'd never noticed before. It was a painting of hands, dozens of them, lifting someone gently toward the sky. At the base, written in tiny white letters, "The world changes one kindness at a time." Emma stopped. Then reached into her pocket and pulled out a marker. Below the words, she added her own. E. Because now she believed it too. A week passed. The sky had shifted from gray to gold, the city easing into spring. Emma could feel it in her bones, not the season, but the change. Things were still hard. Rent still loomed. Her schedule was still brutal. But she had a door now. A bed. A nameplate on the cafe schedule that didn't say, "Shift floater." Emma, lead opener. Not manager. Not supervisor. But it was the first time her name meant more than coverage on a spreadsheet. Her coworkers noticed too. Maya had hugged her. Jay bought her a bagel. Even the manager, now noticeably quieter since corporate started checking in, gave her space. Emma didn't ask questions. She just worked. She arrived early. Stayed calm. She helped where she could. And each morning, without fail, she glanced toward the back booth. It stayed empty. No black hoodie. No helmet. No quiet eyes watching gently from the corner. Until Wednesday. She was wiping the espresso machine when she felt it. That hush. That slight pull in the air. Like someone had turned down the volume of the world. She looked up. He was there. Same seat. Same stillness. Emma's heart leapt before she could stop it. He raised 2 fingers in a silent hello. She walked over slowly, apron still dusted with milk foam. "I thought I imagined you," she said. He smiled. "You didn't. Where'd you go?" "Away," he said simply. "Had to be invisible for a while." Emma nodded. She understood. He gestured toward the empty seat across from him. "Got a minute?" She looked back at the counter. Maya nodded toward her with a grin. She slid into the booth. "You doing okay?" he asked. The same question. But this time, her answer was different. "I think I'm starting to." He smiled again. "I got your notes," she said. "Both of them." "Good." Emma studied his face. "Why me?" He didn't flinch. "Because you reminded me of someone I loved. Someone strong. Someone the world didn't notice until it was too late." The air around them felt still. Waited. Emma swallowed. "I'm sorry." He shook his head. "Don't be. She's not gone. Not really. Not if people like you keep going." Emma's eyes burned. He reached into his jacket again. Not a check. Not a note. A book. Leather-bound. She took it carefully. "What is it?" He leaned back. "It's full of stories. About quiet people who changed the world." She opened it. Inside the front cover, in elegant handwriting. "To the ones who hold everything together, quietly." Emma closed it gently. "I don't know what to say." "You already said it. Just by showing up." Then he stood. He didn't say goodbye. He just touched her shoulder gently and walked out the door. And this time, Emma didn't feel sad when he left. She felt whole. The next few days passed like soft waves. Nothing big. Nothing loud. But underneath, everything was shifting. Emma read the book he gave her every night. Not all at once. Just a few pages at a time. The stories were simple. Farmers who stood between war and peace. Nurses who carried strangers through floods. Teachers who fed their students with their own groceries. People whose names no one remembered, but whose actions still echoed. And between the lines, she saw it. Kindness didn't need a spotlight. It just needed someone to carry it. At work, she started noticing things she hadn't before. The customer who came every morning at 7:13 with red eyes, probably from crying. She offered him a smile, and the next day, he smiled back. The older woman with shaking hands who struggled with her change. Emma always rounded down, never said a word. A girl about her age who sat outside with a guitar, playing for coins. Emma brought her a coffee one morning. Just set it down beside her, nodded, and left. No announcements. No speeches. Just small, steady things. Things she had once needed, and now could give. The cafe felt different too. Maya started bringing snacks for the team. Jay offered to stay late on Fridays. Even the manager stopped barking, mostly. Emma didn't lead them. She didn't try to. She just worked like the world was worth saving. One cup, one shift, one kindness at a time. One afternoon, as she was stacking chairs for closing, a woman walked in. Mid-30s. Neat coat. Nervous energy. "Hi," she said, eyes darting. "Sorry. Is this where that guy, the actor, was spotted?" Emma hesitated. "Keanu Reeves?" The woman nodded quickly. "Yeah. I saw some posts online. I didn't think they were real, but—" Her voice trailed off. Emma studied her. She looked tired. The kind of tired that didn't come from lack of sleep, but from carrying too much, too long. "He was here," Emma said softly. "But not for long." The woman exhaled. "That's what I figured." She reached into her bag, pulled out a folded paper. "I'm a journalist. I was hoping to talk to someone. About what he said. What he did." Emma shook her head. "He didn't say much." The woman smiled faintly. "Sounds like him." They stood in silence. Then Emma added, "But he changed things." "How?" Emma looked around the cafe. The chairs, the counter, the quiet warmth that hadn't been there before. By seeing someone no one else did. The woman stared at her for a long moment. Then nodded. "Thank you." She left without taking a photo. Without asking more. And Emma returned to wiping tables. But her hands didn't shake anymore. And her heart felt steady. Because even if the world forgot what happened here, she never would. 2 weeks passed. Emma's life didn't become perfect. The cafe still had its rushes. Her hands still ached from long shifts. The heater in her apartment still clicked like it was trying to cough up secrets. And the noise of the city still rose too early and settled too late. But the difference was inside her now. A quiet steadiness. The kind that can't be bought, only built. She had created a new routine. Every Sunday, after closing, she would walk to a bookstore 3 blocks away. Not to shop, she couldn't afford much yet. But to sit. There was a chair by the window. Always a little crooked. No one seemed to notice it but her. She would read for an hour. Sometimes more. And one Sunday, as rain whispered against the glass, she noticed something tucked between the pages of the book she pulled from the shelf. An envelope. Her heart stuttered. It was the same paper. Folded once. Inside. No one sees the roots. Only the bloom. But without roots, nothing holds. Keep growing. Emma closed the book gently. The message wasn't dramatic. It didn't shout. It didn't need to. She slipped the note into her coat pocket, next to the others. By now she had 4. Each one tucked into her journal. Each one discovered like a secret the world meant just for her. She didn't know how he did it. How he kept finding her without being seen. But she no longer questioned it. She simply accepted it. Like breath. Like gravity. Back at the cafe, a new girl had joined the team. Name, Danny. 16. White eyes. Nervous hands. Emma noticed right away, the way she avoided eye contact, flinched when someone spoke too loud, said, sorry, more than hello. She'd been there before. So she helped. She showed Danny the quieter ways to survive the chaos. Where to stand to avoid the splash zone at the sink. Which customers tipped. Which didn't. How to fake confidence with your chin, not your voice. And one night, while they were closing, Danny looked up suddenly and asked, why are you so nice to me? Emma blinked. Because someone was nice to me. When I really needed it. Who? Emma smiled softly. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Danny shrugged. Try me. Emma opened her mouth. Then stopped. Instead, she just handed her a fresh towel and said, you'll understand someday. They worked in silence after that. But Emma saw it in Danny's posture. A little taller, a little lighter. And that was enough. Because now, Emma was the one noticing people. She was the one passing it forward. And somewhere out there, a man in a black hoodie was smiling quietly to himself. The cafe was nearly empty. Rain tapped against the windows, soft and steady like a metronome. The kind of rain that made people stay home, cancel plans, pull blankets tighter. But Emma was here. Maya had left early. Jay had swapped shifts. Danny had the night off. So it was just her. She didn't mind. She moved through the quiet with practiced grace, wiping counters, counting bills, restocking cups. The routine was comforting, familiar. Hers. At 8:52 p.m., the bell above the door chimed. She didn't look up right away. Customers this late were rare, usually confused tourists or laptop zombies who needed one last charge. "Kitchen's closed," she said gently. "I'm not here for food." Her heart recognized the voice before her ears did. She looked up, and there he was. Hoodie, helmet in hand, calm eyes that held entire oceans. He looked exactly the same, and somehow not at all. Older, quieter, like someone carrying something beautiful and heavy and willing to keep carrying it. Emma stepped out from behind the counter. No rush, no words. He smiled. "Place looks different." "You always say that." "I never said it before." She raised an eyebrow. "You say a lot without saying." He chuckled softly. "That's fair." They stood there a moment, the silence warm between them. "Still working too hard?" he asked. She shook her head. "Just enough now." "Good." He looked around, at the worn stools, the light above table 3 that still flickered when it rained, the back booth where he once sat. "This place changed." Emma smiled. "You changed it." He tilted his head. "I just showed up. Sometimes that's all it takes." He nodded, thoughtful. Then he pulled something from his coat. Not a note. Not a check. Not a book. A key. Emma stared. "What's that?" He held it out. "A studio space. 3 blocks from here. Top floor. No neighbors. Big windows. Cheap lease. Owner's a friend." She didn't take it. "Not yet. I'm not an artist." "I didn't say it was an art studio. I said it was space." Emma looked at the key, then at him. "Why?" "Because someday," he said quietly, "you'll want a place that isn't about survival. A place where you build." Her eyes burned. "You already gave me everything," she whispered. He shook his head. "I didn't give you anything you didn't already have." She took the key slowly, held it tight. Outside, thunder rolled low and distant. He glanced at the clock. "I should go." She nodded. "Will I see you again?" His smile was soft, almost sad. "You already know the answer." And somehow she did. He turned, walked to the door. Stopped. And without facing her, he said, "Thank you for not giving up. The world needs more people like you." Then he pushed the door open, stepped into the rain, and disappeared into the night. Emma stood there for a long time, key in hand, heartbeat steady, tears on her cheeks, and a future in front of her, wide, open, and waiting. Spring turned to summer. The days grew longer, the air warmer, the city softer around the edges. The cafe still buzzed with the usual rushes, but there was a rhythm now, a pulse of kindness that flowed from behind the counter. Emma had become part of the architecture. Customers asked for her by name. New hires looked to her for guidance. The manager even joked once that she was the soul of the place. He didn't know how right he was. And on her days off, she climbed 3 flights of stairs to the top floor of a quiet brick building. The key fit perfectly. The studio was empty. No furniture. No paint. Just white walls and wide windows that caught the afternoon light like open hands. Emma didn't know what it would become. She just knew it was hers. Some days she sat on the floor and read. Some days she stood at the window and watched the people below. And some days she wrote. Nothing fancy, just scribbles in a notebook. Thus, memories. Things she was afraid to forget. Like saltines for dinner. Like sleeping in her car. Like the folded envelope with her name. But also, the blueberry muffin. The booth in the corner. The man who saw her. She never saw him again. Not in the cafe. Not on the street. Not once. But he was everywhere. In the smile of a tired mom, Emma helped skip the line. In the quiet way Danny now stood up for herself. In the morning light across the studio floor. One afternoon, while cleaning out her backpack, Emma found all the notes. Folded. She laid them out on the studio floor, side by side. Read them slowly. Each one had arrived when she needed it most. Each one had whispered exactly what she didn't know she was ready to hear. She thought about framing them, then decided not to. Instead, she tucked them back into her journal. Because they weren't meant to be displayed. They were meant to be carried. That night she returned to the cafe. The rain was soft, not dramatic, just gentle. Cleansing. She opened the door to find Danny restocking lids, Maya humming quietly, and a regular waiting with his wallet already out. The same place, but not the same world. Emma stepped behind the counter, tied on her apron, and smiled. She wasn't saving the world. She wasn't famous. But she was steady. She was kind. And for the first time in her life, that felt like more than enough. Some people see the world as it is. And some see the people the world forgot. Emma didn't cry out for help. She just showed up, day after day, hoping to survive. But Keanu Reeves? He saw what no one else did. Not with fanfare. Not with speeches. With a gesture. A glance. A letter. Sometimes, the quietest kindness makes the loudest change. Maybe you can be that person, for someone no one sees.